Hey there, Big Brother fans. We want to talk about who won head of household in week 12 and who is their eviction target. So not so invisible HOH Jag Bains has won back-to-back head of household comps. So he was HOH in week 11 and now again in week 12, solidifying his resume as if it needed the padding. That is on top of 4 power of veto wins. The big question is, who will Jag target with the house dwindled down to 7 and him having alliances in several different places? We're going to break it all down for you, but if you haven't, please reach down, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our updates. Clearly, his Minuteman sidekick, Matt Klotz, is safe. And right now, Bowie remains their final 3 third wheel. Both seem intent on dragging her to the end while she just floats along for 2 obvious reasons. One is they can beat her in any comp, not just the final comps, but definitely the final comps. And second, if one of them decided to take her to final 2, they would beat her. She's likable, but she's not a power player by any stretch, and everybody knows that she was dragged to the end and didn't get it on merit. So that leaves the 2 duos of Cirie and Felicia and America and Blue, who potentially face the block. As of now, I doubt they would go up in those pairs, but then once I started looking at how things went on the live feeds Thursday, now I'm thinking that it is going to be one of the power pairs up side by side. So the HOH comp was Johnny Mac, one of my favorite players of all time, and the demented dentist. Looked like a crime scene puzzle. It almost had an escape room feel from the shot we saw behind Julie Chen. And then not long after the feeds came back up from the head of household comp, Matt put his foot in his mouth and told Felicia she should be okay this week, but maybe not. Jag is keeping her in his pocket and eyeing her as a pawn to sit beside America Lopez, who, when they first started talking about nominees, he knew he wanted her on the block. Meanwhile, Matt really wants Blue out, and his reasoning is sound. She made crystal clear to them she's coming for them if she gets a chance. But then Matt saw her, and I guess he believed what she said when America promised she would shield them in a double eviction. And of course, we know there is one coming on Thursday, and a double eviction is the best time to break up a power pair. Jag is not having it though, and says America is definitely going up. And he also wants to find a way to convince Blue that she is a pawn, only a pawn. His fear is basically because she's been getting closer to America, and if Blue is not also on the block and she wins power of veto, then she'll pull down America, which would screw up his plan to get one of them out this week and would leave him having to send out an ally. So that's a problem, and his logic is sound to me. So they even talked about telling Blue they might throw the veto to her to convince her that she's only a pawn. Jag really doesn't care if Blue comes down so long as America stays up and is there as a final nominee. They really don't want to put Felicia or Cirie at risk because they've been low-key talking Final Four with them and keeping their options open. The guys are also irritated with Bowie Jane, who refused to be a pawn last week, and they know that she doesn't want to be a pawn this week, even though it would help them out. Remember, last week she pitched a crying fit, so they're both kind of irritated, but they still know she would be really easy to beat at the end. So after all the talk on Thursday, what it settled on is it should be Blue and America as the nominees. Also, if you haven't heard from the live feeds, it seems that America and Corey spent a night exploring some intimacy. So Corey left with a bang and not a whimper, if the chatter is to be believed. That could explain his jovial mood when he was facing eviction last night. And America also said that he told her he loved her before he left the house. Aw, they're going to be so happy together in jury, and Cameron is going to hate watching them together, which is funny to me. And just a side note also, if you didn't get the reference or were wondering about Corey's remark about Daddy misses you, Stevie, that was a nod to Cameron, whose daughter's name is Stevie. Corey basically just repeated Cam's final remarks just to be kind of funny. Also, another side note, ratings have been falling from a high of 3.5 million viewers. The latest live eviction episode scraped by with just 2.7 million. And the pickings are slim on network TV because of the SAG strike. There's not a ton of network scripted shows. Especially on CBS, we're just getting a ton of reality shows, and they should be thriving, but maybe it's the 100 days. I don't think it's the length. I think it's honestly been kind of a dull season with no one really having the gumption to make big moves outside of Cameron, and then the House just voting unanimously more often than not. Not even any hinky votes, any sympathy votes. It's like they're on autopilot. And it's not that I dislike the House guests this season. I actually like a lot of them, but there's just not the big contentious personalities. We don't have anybody banging pots. We don't have anybody openly sabotaging. We don't, the kind of stuff that house guests that you want to throttle, but at the same time make the game so fascinating to watch. We've got people that are largely getting along and being pleasant, and they're just taking it on the chin when they're evicted. I mean, other than Cam, who tried to burn things down, and, Corey did a little bit of chaos on the way out, but it's just not drama, It's almost like actual reality TV. We want our scripted reality that's more dramatic. At least I do. I feel like BB25 should have shaken it up and taken away Jag's HOH privilege of playing in this comp, because he didn't use his power of invisibility, and the whole notion of getting to play HOH in week 12 was to protect his anonymity. But since he didn't bother to use it, I don't feel like he should have gotten the privilege of playing. That's just me, because right now it feels like it's just fish in a barrel for Matt and Jag to keep taking shots. But stay tuned for more. Thanks for listening. Click subscribe if you haven't. Definitely drop your comments below on how you feel about this season. Are you enjoying it? Do you feel it's lackluster? Do you think it's just a bunch of sheeple in the house, and that Matt and Jag are just going to, low-key step their way to the end unless somebody does something and no one seems inclined? Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.